Thanks again for staying with us on the program TMI Monday as we continue our conversations on EDO 2020, the countdown. Key issues for our discussions today. We'll begin with industrialization and job creation. We'll also look at the issue of public perception in terms of the impacts of the word-to-word campaigns as they're coming forth in the last couple of weeks in the build-up to the elections. And then, of course, critical amongst all of this is the fact that we also need to start setting agenda for the umpire itself so we can uphold the sanctity of the ballot box. I want to say big thanks to our panelists this morning. Pius Lila is a member of the APC Campaign Council. Thank you for joining us on the program, Pius.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
We also have with us in the studio Christopher Ojekere. Christopher Ojekere is a public affairs commentator, a civil society activist. Chris, thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Okay, let's begin the talk by looking at where we are with the campaign so far in terms of the feedback that is coming forth from the word-to-word campaign. First, does it reflect the fact that our people are aware of the issues? I know we still have about 3 weeks to the election, but at least by now, it's enough time for us to start doing assessment of the messaging and how the people are responding to this messaging. Let me start with you, Chris.
Yeah. The word-to-word campaign, as far as I'm concerned, is the most heated sort of campaign you have seen or could probably see for a very long time in any part of Nigeria. Usually, when governors are campaigning, they are either visiting the local government areas or specific areas within the state. But this seemed to be a very novel idea begun by Godwin Obaseki when he took his campaigns from word to word. And I'm sure after the first few word visitations, he became energized and convinced that he has to complete all the wards in Edo State. It was so successful and caused so much upheaval that after the APC had done their local government campaigns, they realized that if they didn't do the same thing, then they would not have campaigned. That itself is a measurement of the response of the people to the word-to-word campaign. People's awareness of the political happenings in Edo State today has moved from the conventional to something that is near. It is not quite there yet. It's after the ballot we begin to measure the level of revolutionary thinking that have entered into the heart of the average Edo citizen. They no longer see this campaign as mere campaign. What they now see is a revolutionary movement occasioned and piloted by a man who is a precursor. That is Obaseki. And I tell you this, the reason I say that is that usually what you have is that for a campaign to be, to be so heated and robust, you usually have situations where the sitting governor is known to have bankrolled money given to leaders. The more money he gave, the more the campaign promises to be robust. But Obaseki is known to be erudite. We call them erudite in the local parlance. Somebody who does not release and spend money, but every single minute of the day, in street corners around Edo State, you have carnival-like people gathering, wearing t-shirts, individuals organizing campaigns in streets, in highways, in villages, in towns, in cities. Now, coming out by themselves, not because they have seen the governor, not because some of them might even like his face too much after they see him, but because they believe he stands for a cause. The cause is a liberation of the fetters of godfatherism that have held them down. It's a liberation from the fact that a few people will sit down there called Kaba who will decide their destiny.
Okay.
They have tasted freedom, just like the dog will taste blood. And now they want to ensure that they don't lose that freedom and that liberty. Okay. So that is why you find that the campaign has become so heated and has forced the APC to return back to the world because they realize that they have not been able to communicate to the people, the way Obaseki has done. Okay. And so that, for me, is one measurement of the campaign, yes.
So, Pastor Lile, yes, so what's your assessment?
Oh, yes, the campaign has been going very well. I want to, first of all, clear one or two things before I move into the main issues. First of all, our strategy has been to take our campaign to the 2,625 units of the state, rather than even wards. We've gone beyond that. Our strategy has been to take it down, and that is why we have been building clusters. We have been working towards strengthening our various units, rather than the wards. Even the wards in practice, we have 192 wards. It's not even possible for a candidate to go through all the 192. So what I have been doing in practice is putting 3 4 words together. Let's become the public adequate. That is what they've been. And that's what EDP has been. And that's what the EDP have been doing. They are strengthening our needs and working very well for those youth. And one of the things that the EDP have done very well is to remove the debate from rhetorics of government and all these unnecessary rhetorics of government. We remove it to the issues. We have been selling our simple agenda. We have been delivering that. We are working. We have been convinced our simple agenda. And that's what agenda is based on the smart principle. That simple agenda is based on the smart principle. And that's why it's specific. Our force is going to be specific. It's going to be measurable. It's going to be quick. It's going to be long. And it's going to be time bound. And that is what our students are doing. Now, we refuse to be dragged on unnecessary distractions of issues. That's what we have refused to do. And the people have keep aligned with all our simple agenda framework and simple agenda that we presented for them. Even if one is not aware of simple agenda, and it's clear. And our simple agenda is an act for S is security and social welfare. For R is infrastructure and urban renewal. For N is not power development and training. For P is public-private partnership. For L is leadership by NO. For A is creation and social policy. And that's what we are telling you at the beginning to understand that one vision. Now people talk of research as when people discover that our agenda is getting to the people and beginning to align themselves to our agenda. That is why we really put together a national agenda. And we have to start talking about that. What do you want to do in the states? And what we do, and we try from this. And that is what I was going to say. People want to hear there are road. Before I came here just now, I don't even thinking about that balance. All of us are victims. We can't run. I'm looking into that. Also complain that we get this because every year, God just so amount of them just they want to flood in. And that is the symptoms, evidence of bad balance. So we come away from bad balance. I'm thinking about whether you are DP, whether you are in APC, whether you are in the party. It's true to the fact that when government is there, it affects you. It affects your cause. So they are victims. I want to say the work to work campaign. In reality, though it's called work to work campaign, it's about 3 4 words put together. It's almost one person. We don't do one right to but we are going to work to work campaign. We are strengthening various needs and empowering the various needs to deliver. And that is what we have been doing.
Okay, let me bring Chris in here.
Yes.
There's been talks about the messaging and the campaigns.
Yes.
And one thing that just won't go away in a hurry is the fact that this election is being haunted by the comment statements, issues that dominated 2016, particularly from the political actors. I want you to make comment on that, then interface it with the assessment that people do with the amount of people they see at campaign grounds.
You see, what we are doing here now, though it's the intellectual part of the discussion, and I'm giving you the reason now why we say language is significant vocal symbols by which human beings interact. I have to be clairvoyant to know your mind.
Yeah.
So I hold you to your words. So what we are doing here now is intellectual campaigning. Would it not surprise you that we have 2,665 units, 625 units, and we have just less than 20 days to the campaign, and a party representative is telling us that the agenda for a world campaign they started that day is to visit all the units. No, that's your strategy. So yes, strengthening the units because he's accusing, because he's accusing the PDP of combining 2-3 words. But you want to do 2,225 units in less than 20 days. So that is why we must hold people responsible to their words. Now, I want to say that the reason why the issues of 2016 keeps reverberating is for the same reasons. If we have different actors, if we have gone past that past, There is another issue that is, he mentioned the simple agenda. On public space on television, Don Pedro is contesting the ownership of the simple agenda. And as I sit here, that case has not been vacated. Don Pedro threatened to go to court. If they have done an out-of-court settlement, I don't know. So I don't know which agenda we are debating. Now, I'll tell you again, a guest on your television here said that the agenda is not APC's agenda. That's Izeyamu's agenda. And Izeyamu contested with the simple agenda under PDP. And is now contesting in 2020 under APC. The person said it is his agenda, so we should not. Now, so I asked, it is Strike's law that it is the party that owns the candidate. So it's the party that wins election. It's the party that has manifesto. Now, are we operating two manifestos? The APC chairman of Edo State said, we don't have a candidate. But he has just said that that's the APC's manifesto. So I'm at a loss at which manifesto we are dealing with. APC's manifesto, because I know APC manifesto. And the APC man said it's not. And of course, the simple agenda is not APC's manifesto. So, in the unlikely event that Izeyamu becomes governor, who are we going to hold responsible if this simple agenda that is called SMART, which is not so smart now in the circumstance in which I explained, fails? Are we going to hold Izeyamu? He's not the owner of the ticket. So as it is right now, supporters of Izeyamu do not have a manifesto they are going to hold their candidate to. Because it's Izeyamu's manifesto. And Izeyamu is not APC's candidate. So that is why when I see people here talking about the simple agenda, you are talking of a document. We are asked to sit down and begin to discuss a document. We are not discussing the reality and contents of the document. So anybody can put together a piece of document, call it a name, and we come to television and spend 1 hour discussing it. It has to be owned. Who owns the simple agenda? Is it Izeyamu? Is it the APC? Because a member of the APC who sits here, he has been here twice, and it's my very good friend, said this is Izeyamu's agenda, and it has not been contradicted. So now, the reason we are going back to 2016 is because the same actors are on stage. Who are the actors? Oshomole, Obaseki, and Izeyamu. Oshomole, who is now the campaign manager for Izeyamu, was the one who made those statements. And people are saying life will have no meaning if you say one thing today and then tomorrow, while we still have our senses correct, you are telling us not to regard anything you say. We should just begin to now listen to you. Life will have no meaning. We will have no continuity from the past to the present, and therefore we cannot guarantee the future. For life to have meaning, there must be a logical sequence of events and logical sequence of activities. Now, has Oshomole come to tell us that Izeyamu is now born again? There is no more a thief? There is no more a liar? That he cannot trust him with his kitchen? Has Oshomole come to say that? He hasn't come to say that. What he said is that he's reinforcing his reason while he's fighting Obaseki. That he regrets putting Obaseki in government house because Obaseki has refused to follow the status quo, has refused to follow the thinking that made him bring Obaseki there. Namely, that he should continue to rule Obaseki while Obaseki rules there, so that they continue to tear pieces of paper to write money and distribute among the politicians. That is what the people have seen, and that's why they are rebelling. So the issues, the people are saying, settle these issues first. When you settle these issues, you tell us new thing. This Izeyamu you are talking to the same person you told us about. He's coming with the simple agenda now. If that simple agenda was PDP manifesto, then what it also means is that we are heading for a constitutional crisis, because we now find the two parties, APC and PDP, running PDP manifesto, which means Izeyamu, who ran PDP manifesto in 2016, took that manifesto into whatever he is now, and is running with that same manifesto. Okay. And PDP has its own manifesto.
Let me
so the mega manifesto of Obaseki.
He's speaking in ignorance.
Okay, so educate us.
He has not read the simple agenda of 2016. He has not read the revised simple agenda of 2020. So he's speaking in ignorance. He doesn't even understand the content of the simple agenda. He has not even read it. You understand? And you want to contest for governor, you have no vision. You have no documented vision for the people to read and know your mind. You are talking about party. The candidate have an input. You understand what I mean? I mean, you cannot come out and say you want to be a governor. And that is why we are where we are today. The governor of Edo State has no vision, has no plans for the state. You see, as we speak, let's address issues. I want to take you straight to the issues that we have. We have a whole lot of development issues in this state, and that is why we are having all these issues that we are having. Let me give you some statistics. Recently, the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics made it very, very clear that the first quarter of this year, we've not had any capital investment in this state. I know you will come out now and will say it's COVID-19. That is why we've not had capital investment. In 2019, the first quarter of 2019, we did not also have one single capital investment. How? Why are you going to have it when we have the investor confidence is lacking? Because the state has been very, very toxic. We all know that over the last 1.5 years. The governor has been operating legislations in a haphazard manner, where you have only 8 House of Assembly members being sworn in. The remaining one are at home. You understand? All these things destroys investors' confidence. And that's why we have been having all these issues that we have been having. We've been having development issues all along. We've not had one investment. Let me tell you what happened in Ondo State of recent. Ondo State had what we call industrial city. We've been trying to build one industrial park here. As we speak now, you go to the industrial park at what is it called? Obayato. It's full of weeds. No one single industry. But let me tell you what Ondo State did. Ondo State just gets 5 billion statutory allocation every month. We get more than that. But let me tell you what Ondo State have just done. This industrial city that they have built, look at the companies that are there at present. And they've so far employed over 20,000 people. The industrial city has a paper mill factory, plywood factory, textile company, the largest cassava ethanol factory in Nigeria, an automobile assembly plant, and Nigeria's first high-density fibro and marine board factory in a city that was built by one tenure governor. The governor that just spent about 3 years. Our governor brought our vice president to open our industrial park. You go there, nothing has happened. No one single investment has been made. You understand what I mean? So when we're looking at issues and we look at development issues, for a government that has spent 3.5 years, it should be showcasing, you should be here showcasing what the government has done. Not talking about rhetorics. The disagreement between Oshomele and Izeyamu and Obaseki, what has it got to do with the common man in terms of putting food in their stomach, in terms of constructing good roads, in terms of constructing good hospitals, in terms of constructing good schools? What has it got to do? Because as far as we are concerned, this government have nothing to show. The only thing they have to show is the disagreement between Oshomele and Izeyamu and Obaseki. What Obaseki said, what Oshomele said against Izeyamu in 2016, is that what you should be showcasing? You have been empowered, you have been elected. You were elected 3.5 years ago. Tell us what you have achieved. That should be the issue. And that is their problem. They are dragging us away from the main issue. And that's exactly what he's doing now. Drag us away from the issue. We have said, we have an agenda. We have a vision. This is what we will do when we get into power. You don't have. You cannot show evidence of what you have done. You still cannot show evidence of what you will do. And you expect the people to believe you. You've been in power 3.5 years. You've not been able to showcase anything. And you are still talking about 2016 disagreement. Let me tell you something. In politics, politics is about conflict and resolution of conflict. People say one thing yesterday and they come back to apologize tomorrow. Politics. The definition of politics is conflict oriented, and it is also the resolution of conflict.
And let me also tell you, is that not tantamount to lying? When you say one thing yesterday, you say another thing today. Is that not tantamount to lying?
They said don't cry more than you believe.
Yeah.
For God's sake.
Okay.
They said Oshomele that said those things in 2016 have come out. I thank God that Oshomele is here alive.
Yes.
He has come out now to apologize.
So which means he lied in 2016?
No, he has, excuse me. He said that he never had the facts. He never had the fact that the fact that he had now is different from the fact that he had in 2016. And he has come out to make it clear. He has come out to apologize to the people. Why are you crying more than they believe?
Okay,
what is your problem? Izeyamu has forgiven Oshomele. So what is your problem? You were not the one that was accused. You were not the one that was called thief. So what is the problem? So if PPP and their candidate keep
Referring to that.
Referring to that,
Yeah.
they are just trying to drag us away from the issues.
Okay, let me pause it there. Let me pause it. Let's get Chris in here.
I like
economic development.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Don't take us to the
He is not confined to this space. He's well traveled, and then he came from a place where issues we are following the flow of discussion here.
Yes.
So I was answering your questions. I wish he didn't go into development. The Obaseki's name have become synonymous with development. And I will take the list for you. Are you following me? Now let's go to road infrastructure. I live in Lucky Way in Benin City here. When I got to Lucky Way, when the Shomole was still in power, you chose what you lose when it is raining. He's complaining about a federal road. He has forgotten that Uselu Ugbawa is a federal road that is controlled by APC government.
I will address that soon.
You are complaining about a federal road. That road is controlled by a federal government. So I'm going to the road controlled by state government. Lucky Way, sure that you lose your wife, your handbag, your house, or your resource. As I speak to you now, when I pass that road, the drainage that was done in Lucky Way around the back, 2 cars can drive side by side on it. The same thing going on right now inside the road. So if you say you are calling for drainage Lucky Way, go to side the road now. Otete road is about to be besides. Otete road is construction right now. The city road is nylon tagged. There's a road linking Sapler Road, opening up communities to the park said to link Sapler Road. And it's roads. If you go to people say Ekoma knows the routes. Who would do roads? The eastern southeast roads. So that is just roads. Now come here, you here at Technical School. Take a drive and go there. The first time I had interactive whiteboard from the educational sector, it was like hearing of rocket science. As I speak to you now, interactive whiteboard is mounted in Technical School. It's still on that structure on Sunday. 200 states of arts classrooms will be delivered in Technical School. There's a rain harvester system in place in compounds. 5 cables, optic fiber cables are being laid in compounds. Solar energy is being laid up, and to make it better, when the school starts running, you have to have a whole industrial sector, industrial base around the school, so that you tie up what you're learning in classroom to industry. Industrialization. It is not it is not going to expand the road that already exists and put cameras in the world. We are talking about meaningful sustainable development of people of Obaseki. It's right there at Technical School. Now, the people that are building industries have a lot of power. In this country we are. We know that he's joking. It's like it's top. I went to the federal secretariat. That's where I saw transiting station, the steps down. There's a fiscal valuable objects. If you see the step down machine, it is there. To power 25 megawatts. To power industrial areas around the name. So that you need to lay down these huge industries, you have power to run it. The federal government sent its own delegation from Abuja only last week to Edo State to say, go and congratulate the Edo State government for creating the enabling environment, support funds, getting in place machinery to produce the personnel that will run a modular refinery that is a resource modular refinery. A resource modular refinery, because that refinery is going to now encourage investment in modular refinery building across the South-South region. Beside that, it has a fabrication yard where you will produce the equipment you use in the oil industry. Besides that, it has a section which they have entered into an agreement with AAU and Bruce Ali University to train personnel that will train people to provide staff for that industry and to train people for the industry in general. You have about 250 professionals working in that, Nigerian professionals working in that modular refinery for the local content, even if it was done in MOU with a foreign company. That is what government does. Government will provide an enabling environment. And you say these are not industries. You know, life is difficult for the blind, because now these things are measurable things I'm telling you about. The Osiomo plant, the refinery. Go to Technical School, you have 4 of that in the state. You have one at Igara, you have one at Afuze, there's one at Ihoho there, and this one in Benin. The dream of the governor is to replicate that in 18 local government area. These things are documented, but I've not mentioned the manifesto. I'm mentioning physical concrete project. And you are carrying about a piece of paper and you are asking me to compare a piece of paper with physical concrete projects that are in existence. And then you begin to argue on that. I'm talking about, let me finish, I'm not finished. Now he says, now let me finish. To the social side, all these industries we are measuring, if the government has not dealt with the social side, you cannot build that refinery. If tigers and lions have not been tamed and kept in their cages, you will have those boys coming there to say, you have to pay this, you have to pay that, and that refinery will never be built. That's why Michelin ran away during the times of these tigers and lions on the street. And other companies ran away because you couldn't invest. Why? Lands, the greatest factor of production, have not been secured. And so what did Obaseki do? He set up AGIS, Edo Geographical Information Service, that maps the entire Edo lands, so that when you want to invest or even build your private residence, it will be mapped for you, there will be no argument. So he secured that. So in the social side, he kept the tigers and the lions in the cage. Somebody is now saying that he wants to unleash them upon the general public. So there's a social order. There's social order. And that's why you have ESMA, a reformed body. No, you say I should name them. Let me name them. Because you say we are talking about
let me proceed now, Chris.
Yes.
Chris, let me proceed. Pius,
I'm very glad that he was only able to mention Lucky Way. That is the only road.
I mentioned the Tete. I mentioned TB Road. I mentioned
Ekawa Road, abandoned. Texas Main Road, abandoned. No major roads have been constructed by this government, except one or two. You understand what I mean? All the roads that he even did, don't go there. They've all be washed away. Let me tell you, the Edo Stormwater Project, when you are in government, you have to be holistic in your thinking. The Edo Stormwater Project that was initiated and started by Odo Adasoshomene's administration. The Edo Stormwater Project was supposed to tackle the erosion menace in the entire Benin City. That program, laudable project that was initiated and started by Adasoshomen, was completely abandoned by this government. This government did not initiate one program and did not start and commission any project. Central Hospital that has been built, completed. This government went to another state, outsourced the services to outsider. You go to a specialist hospital and say you want to collect card, you want to obtain card. It's not accessible to the common man. That is an hospital that was built with taxpayers' money. What are we talking about? In every areas of development, job creation, this government has not created any job. I am happy that I've been able to drag him into the issues. You understand what I mean? He has not created any job. He keep talking about job tracking, job training. You tell me, which specific sector? The teachers, no teacher have been employed, no nurses have been employed, no doctors have been employed since the inception of this government. What kind of program are you selling? What kind of thing are you saying you have done where the critical sector of the economy have been neglected? So what are you talking about? What he's just talking about refinery, talking about, it's not been able to justify how this has affected the common man in the street. He has not been able to say it. He's just talking about statistics, talking about geographical mapping. He has not been able to say how this has affected the common man. The critical sector of the economy, security, we've been having series of kidnapping. The state, political tension, a government that orchestrates violence everywhere, and you say you are a governor that collects 700 million every month. You still have a state that is insecure, and he gives 5 million to commissioner of police, and you come and tell me that, oh, that governor has been able to secure the state. No, he has not been able to secure. In terms of security, he failed completely. In terms of other sectors of the economy, in terms of health, you tell me how many nurses or teachers that you have employed, how many teachers you have employed since the session of this government, how many doctors or nurses you have. Our tertiary institutions have been closed down. School of nursing in Benin closed down. You understand what I mean? Federal College of Education, Ekadolo, closed down. What are we talking about? Look at School of Agriculture in Guaraki, closed down. We've had series of institutions. Do you know what that? Do you know the implication of that to our economy? Do you know the implication of that to the society, to the education that we are talking about? The critical sector of the economy have been neglected completely. Okay. And that's the issue. Yeah. So the government has not been able to get their priorities right. I am saying there is no government that you will say after 3 years, you don't know something. Then you become the truth. I must say that the issue of land speculators, and I'm not saying that is bad. But I'm saying the critical sector, and that's why we don't be able to generate jobs. Because when you ignore the critical of the economy, what you do, you and that's what's happening. We could not record Ekato investment. we don't record any kind of investment.
I know Chris is warming up to respond to those issues, but just to let our viewers know that you also contribute to the discussion using the WhatsApp number 070. Okay, I need to get that correctly so I don't mix them up. Okay. Okay, yeah, 08038726759. You see that number on the screen shortly. You can send your WhatsApp contributions, your WhatsApp messages to that number by way of contributions to the discussion. Now, I'd like to get your thoughts.
Yes, you know,
he
has mentioned capital projects.
Yes.
That's why I mentioned capital. I refer to capital projects. Not that it's asking about how some of these things affect the common man. I think that's another angle to the discussion.
Yes.
I mentioned Lucky Way when I started. Now, you don't just run to do projects. Because government is a continuum, and because government has to live sustainable projects, you sit down and you map. That's what Obaseki did. That Lucky Way I've just told you now opens up to Ute. If you go to Ute, behind, you can go from Ute into the University of Benin, a huge farming community. The closest market is Oregbeni, which is Sramat Park. There was no road to Oregbeni. Now people can evacuate their goods. Common men like myself who passed Lucky Way this morning benefited from it. Along the Lucky Way now there are hundreds of shops that have been opened. If that road was not done, nobody is going to drive there to patronize you. Coffins, everything is sold along that road. That is the kind of roads you do. The road that leads from Iriri down to Airport Road has opened up community. You have to decongest the city center. If you are going to have to develop and create room for the common man, you have to decongest the center so that you don't cluster everybody and then you urbanize. That is how you build cities. So that has affected the common man. Now come back to every other thing that he's saying. Let us go to, what was it? He said nobody has been employed. I don't understand. He quoted the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics. The Nigeria Bureau of Statistics has just credited Edo State government with a reduction. Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, a federal government agency. Nigeria Bureau of Statistics got its reputation when Buhari came on stream. You know when we had the recession, they were giving us correct figures. And so they have built their reputation. So much so that Buhari had to employ one veteran journalist to go and work there. And the veteran journalist was criticized because he had been criticizing Buhari and he resigned. So they came up only 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago that Edo State had reduced the unemployment percentage from 20-something% to I think about 18%. Now, that means that employment has been going on. The agency that was set up by his party's government to track unemployment rates have come up to give us that information. And he still thinks that there's no... Now, I'll tell you how he created employment. Yes, let me finish. Obaseki sat down and realized what any government, responsible government in the world realizes. You cannot continue to employ people into your civil service and have 20 people doing one job. You create 19 redundant staff. And even the 20th is going to be redundant because 19 persons are sharing what one person will do. So government creates an enabling environment. And that the first thing you do for production is to have power stability. If you go to Edo Production Hub now in Saple Road, they have 24-hour power supply. Valerie Osawe Ebo, not the only one there, but I mentioned her because we were shocked when we saw her. That girl couldn't be more than 17 years, by my own assessment. She builds shoes. Valerie Osawe Ebo. So that's why I'm calling the name. And my friend has the number, I can give it to you. She builds shoes. She's making them, not cobbler. She makes shoes. She has under her 4 apprentices. And also the shop they are taking over. That is a good production hub. You know, in the center, when I was speaking in Kenya about the issue, they come in. She says from Imo State. And that she wishes at this moment, I'm telling you, we can call her and Orlando, they after that program in AUFM. She said she wished that she was for it. Why? Because she has been to an innovation center and got training on soilless farming. I have never heard of soilless farming until last day. And there are so many other post-COVID, job designations like that, which the innovation center is designed for. Talking about the people agenda that doesn't know code. We live in the post-COVID world, and we have an agenda, we have an manifesto. In the introductory basis, the governor said the ones have been reset because of COVID-19, and therefore it's pretty manifesto. So, and therefore, we have to reset the economy. So, post-COVID economy. Now, 4 years ago, we had a managed agenda to deal with an economic disposal. I'm saying how it affects the common man. Now, we should know that it affects the common man. When our fathers will no longer leave the villages to come to Benin City, and that is what I'm advocating. The Lord only Central Hospital. Everybody will come, someone will come from Okbuje, my village, to come and attend Central Hospital. And you call that a health policy? People will leave your village, Igbojobo, and everywhere to come to Central Hospital. So what do? You do what we call the primary health care. That's Obaseki's priority. Okay. You develop the clinics around the community, where referral cases will be taken to the secondary health care. The hospital in Ring Road is a tertiary institution. That is the last point of reference. Okay. Now, so you cannot leave my village and be coming to Central Hospital. Yeah. And he has just agreed that it was given out, that the services was given out. Yeah. When we had COVID-19, the most celebrated doctor in the world was in Britain. I forgot his name, Yoruba guy, who had COVID-19 and was put in intensive care. And then we were told that he's one of the best physicians in the world. He's working in a foreign land. And we are talking of those who are running services here. So if life is to be saved in Central Hospital, we will begin to ask the doctor whether it's an Igbo man or whether it's a Benin man. These are specialized areas. Okay, you deal with them specialists.
Gentlemen, we need to call it a wrap on the program.
Yes. Just give me 2 seconds.
Yes, please. Yes.
I am happy he talked about community health care. Governor Obaseki promised that he will build and construct one primary health care centers across the 192 wards. Please ask him how many have they constructed. Okay. Ask him. He's talking about community health care.
Do you want Expo or you? I thought you should have done your own.
Let me tell you for free, my brother. I know you are a good man. Yes. I know you. That I don't. Some of the things you have said.
We are friends.
I don't know. You say you're a good person. I know you very well. But the truth of the matter is that he also knows the truth. Governor Obaseki have not constructed any primary health care center across the world. He promised 192 wards. If he has constructed 40, I will give him credit for the 3 years. I can tell you, he has not constructed.
Okay, now, gentlemen,
up to even 5.
How are all of these issues shaping the elections in terms of public perception, acceptance of the messaging from the campaigns? That's exactly what we are doing. I have just told you that we've been able to take our own agenda, our simple to the people. Okay. We've not been elected. He was saying just now talking, he was trying to compare paper with your government or the government that you belong to. I was elected. They should be showcasing what they have done. Okay. But we are showcasing our vision. Okay. We are showcasing what we have done. And let me tell you, people, our vision is beginning to resonate among the people. And they're beginning to understand that, yes, this man, Pastor Sage has an agenda. All right, let me get a final word from
give him opportunity. Yeah. Give him opportunity. He will deliver on this vision.
Let me get a final word from Chris.
2020 will decide. I can tell you that their governor, the present governor, is on his way out.
Okay, let's get a final word
on how it resonates. I always believe that you should allow the people to speak. I didn't name Obaseki Wait-and-See governor. It was the people that named him Wait-and-See governor. Okay. So the people know what they saw before they say when they woke up, they saw. So that is how it has resonated with them.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen, for your time on the program. If we have more time, probably I'd love to continue with our conversation. But keep the messages coming in. I've got your message there, but we'll take those messages right after this break. It's still TMI Monday with yours sincerely. Please stay tuned.